You are listening to an exclusive interview on Bass Musician Magazine.
Hey everybody, this is Raul for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the great honor and pleasure of chatting with iconic bassist coming from Detroit, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Tony Green.
Yes, sir. Detroit, the Motor City, born and raised.
There you go.
Born and raised.
So, starting from the beginning, Tony, you have been in this business. You're a bassist, a producer. You write songs. You are the founder and CEO of Hyped International Records. I mean, you have done so much, and you've done it all over the last 48 years. It's a great time for people to get to know you and find out, how did you get started in all this? What was your bass journey?
Well, I guess the basic inspiration at first was my stepfather plays bass, and he was a famous jazz bassist. But I didn't like jazz, so I didn't really take to the bass until I saw a guy play it at my high school at a talent show. And just to see somebody your age actually playing something that you've been hearing on the radio, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so fascinating to me, like, dang, how did you learn that? And I was able to learn my first Jimi Hendrix song. But what happened is, not knowing, I'm right-handed, but I picked up the bass because Jimi Hendrix had a Fender and we had a Fender at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked up the bass and turned the head up like he had his head up. And I thought that's how you play. So I had been playing like that sneakily for a few months before my daddy caught me playing his bass. And then when he caught me, he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, Dad, I'm kind of thinking about playing bass, And he said, "Well, you got it upside down. You'll never play like that." And by that time, I already knew like 6 songs, man. So to say never was just a challenge for me. And then after hanging up a bunch of gold and platinum albums, he said, "I'm glad you never listened to me." And I was like, "I'm glad too." How you going to say never? So I'm right-handed, but I play upside down. I just grab the bass, pick it up, like if I'm in the guitar store, pick it up and I flip it over. And that's how I play.
Gotcha.
My E string is on the bottom. My G string is on top. And I'm fucking wicked. And the thing is, all of the rap records that these kids like, all of the Snoop and Dr. Dre stuff, I played bass on all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All of the stuff from 93 to 96 when it was really catchy and melodic. And then it went back to the drum machine. But when it was that period of time of catchy, melodic gin and juice and songs like that, I was there creating all of those bass lines and enjoying it. So, and playing upside down. So my daughter was a baby and I handed her the guitar one time and I handed it to her right and she flipped it over. And then I was like, "Oh, no, you can't do that." I gave it to her again and she flipped it over. I was like, "All right, there it is." No argument from that point for me. But I had it a lot harder. I had it a lot harder. And I understand that my stepfather just didn't want me. A lot of drugs came in the picture, and he knew all about it because, in the jazz world, everybody was on heroin or some shit,
Mm-hmm.
And I know he just really just didn't want me to get involved. Then immediately drugs was in the picture, immediately you smoking weed or immediately you're doing some things. So I can understand what he was trying to protect me from, but we have to live our own pace, and live our own path. And if you get caught up and be one of those that drugs take out, well, then that was your story.
Mm-hmm.
But my story is that of somebody who fought through it all and continues to fight and still plays a hell of a bass. And I'm going to keep playing a hell of a bass because it's not just playing bass. It's just the breathing. It's just life for me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Any bass player that picks up the bass and it's an effort to do all the things that you want to do, well, then, maybe you should have played piano because to me, the bass is effortless. If it's at one with you, you're just going to pick it up and play some shit. I'm not trying to sound like anybody when I play my bass. I'm the guy everybody's trying to learn my bass line. So I'm not trying to learn nobody. Because the people I would try to learn, like Victor Wooten, Stanley Clark, and all of them, I can't play nowhere near that, man. Those guys are gods. Like, why do you even play that good? Like, is it necessary? You know what I mean? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
You're just too fucking good.
Yeah.
And I learned that you didn't have to be that good, but you could set your own pace and get paid for it. You know what I mean? So Victor Wooten might be really good, but I don't know. Is he getting money from the hip hop world? Yeah. I don't know. It's just that whole feeling on what you can bring to the table. Mm-hmm. And those guys, man, they play their bass like it's pianos and I mean, they sound beautiful. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And even my stepfather was fantastic on bass. I hear him. It was a song called Donna Lee. I don't know if you're familiar with Donna Lee, the
oh
bass
yeah.
line, right?
Hmm.
Well, I heard Jaco Pastorius playing it, and I came home and I was like, "See, Dad, this way you couldn't play this." And he picked up his upright bass and played it note for note, like it
Wow.
wasn't nothing. So I just quit messing with him. He's well loved and did some tremendous things in his life, but I had to learn that you got to do more than just play bass, right? You gotta get into the productions. I could sing and write songs, and start. And I'm gonna tell you, way before I was a bass player, I was a singer
Hmm.
because we grew up in the church. And then once I got to playing bass, way before I was a songwriter, I was a bass player first. You know how everybody just try to do everything at one time.
Sure.
And then once I added the songwriting to it, I lived that for a long time, and then I became a producer. You don't just jump because you can play the bass good, now you're a producer. Or that you wrote one song, now you're a songwriter.
Hmm.
A lot of people just got to understand it takes more than that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's where it's at.
But how did you continue to grow as a bassist? Were you did you get into a find a band, or you mentioned the
Well, yeah,
church?
yeah. It started with a couple band. No, I couldn't play in church at that point.
Okay.
It started with I would try to get in bands,
Hmm.
and then I was the guy with no bass, really, no amp. My family couldn't buy anything like that, but I would borrow stuff, and then and after a while, then my dad would let me use his bass sometime if I had a gig. But yeah, a band. So, but I got kicked out of a lot of bands because I didn't have equipment, and a lot of guys be pulling those refrigerator amps, because back then all the amps was big where I
Hmm.
come from. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
70s. The amps was huge. So here's a guy got a new amp and a new bass. Well, you out. So I just managed to start my own band, and the keyboard player had a bass. He had a nice Fender bass, and he said, "Hey, well, as long as I'm in the group, you can use the bass." So I kept him in the group forever. And so but we the band got better, and I never could buy one, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's how the story was supposed to go for me. So I borrowed this bass all the way up until I got a break, and then he just let me have it. Like, so because the band, we were doing good, and all of a sudden I got a break, like with the Dramatics.
Hmm.
Here I'm 17, and they like, we need you. And first they was going to use the whole band because their band was causing strikes and stuff like that to get more money and stuff.
Ah.
So then it was just taking too long for my band to learn 20 songs, but it was easy for me to learn 20 songs. I mean, I can learn it quicker than when you're trying to horns and everything like that.
Hmm.
So they got the band members back together who would act right, and the bass player, they wanted to fire him anyway. So here I am, the new and my band. I didn't want to quit my band, but the money was just fantastic for a teenager.
Hmm.
Anytime they tell you you're gonna get Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance, $250 a week, my mother was like, "Yes, he can go.
Yeah.
Get him out. He can go." Because I told the guy, "You got to ask my mom." And when he asked my mother, she was like, after he said all of this fantastic stuff, she was, "Yes, he ain't doing nothing in school.
Hmm.
Let him go." Because at school, all I liked was my music classes. I didn't like nothing else. I'm gonna be totally honest with that. They wasn't really teaching nothing that seemed worth listening. I had a history teacher. All he wanted to talk about was the slaves on the Mayflower, and I didn't want to hear that. And then I
Hmm.
had an English. I liked my English teacher because she was really cute, so we would go just because of that. But I wouldn't miss any choir, stage band. I was meant for that.
Hmm.
And I went to a school at first where it was like 12 bass players. All of them were great.
Oh wow.
Ralph Armstrong was one of them. And Ralph Armstrong is a Detroit bassist that's tremendous. He's played on McLaughlin, John McLaughlin, and all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I got pushed out of that school and sent to another school that I became the bassist, because I would have never flourished over there with all those great bassists. But when they kicked me out and sent me to Mumford, it was only one other bass player there, and it was James Jamerson Jr.
Ah.
Yeah, and then but he was such a star that he wouldn't show up. So when I got there and the teacher said, "You mean you'll show up every day?" I said, "Yes, sir. I'll be here every day." So one day James Jamerson came back like a month later. I had took his chair, and the teacher said, "That's your replacement right there." He hated me all of his days, man. He just died a few years ago. He hated me all the way to the death, man.
Oh man, that's too bad. What kind of music were you playing back then?
With the group called the Dramatic, well, first of all, with my band, we would play good songs like Horace Silver. We would play some jazzy things
Hmm.
only because those guys knew more about the music and I was just following. If they said we're going to do Horace Silver, like I didn't know who Horace Silver was, but when I learned my part of the song.
Yeah.
But we would play, Cool in the Gang and all that kind of stuff when we were younger. And then when I got picked up by the Dramatics, they're like a group like the Temptations. Matter of fact, if anybody wants to see me on Unsung, the Dramatics Unsung is on YouTube. Unsung is a real big program, and I'm just featured on that with the Dramatics and Snoop Dogg. But the Dramatics were a great singing group, man. And like I said, I started with them at 17, and we were doing all of the big concerts, all of the big stadiums, and everything. I played all of the. They used to have a thing called a Cool Jazz Festival,
Hmm.
and we would play all of the stadiums. I mean, like Arrowhead Stadium, uh, just every big stadium around the country. So me walking out in front of 50,000 people like that at a young age, I mean, it just made me like fearless, really, when it came to playing. And I still never said I was better than nobody else, but I know how to put a show on. I know what to do. While you
Hmm.
playing all of that stuff you learn, I might just play one note and hold it three, four times.
Yeah.
It's just you gotta outshow somebody sometimes. You can't outrun them.
Being able to lay down a groove, it has that percussive element,
Right,
and
right,
that's why there's a lot of I'll say there's a lot of meat and potato bassists
right.
that do so much music, and they're really kind of the unsung heroes.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
so you're a young guy, you're touring, and you're playing a lot. Music was kind of evolving. What happened next?
well,
What?
then you had to learn how to be on the road because the road is a dangerous situation too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people get out there and get stupid and just go for it, but it's really really dangerous. And even the guys who would have the girls in their room and then they hang and party with them. The girls spend the night and then they would wake up and their horns are gone and
No, no.
guitars are gone. You know what I mean? You just like you had to learn what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
And as the Dramatics got bigger, then what came along was an opportunity to write some songs. The lead singer was upset, like, man, we can get this money, man, but we got to start writing songs. I said, well, I can write the music. Shit,
Mm-hmm.
can you make some lyrics? He should have said no. His lyrics wasn't all that great, but immediately we started, and the first project we finished, when we hung up a gold record. I got like three songs on that. It's the Dramatics "Do What You Want to Do" album. It's some great sounding, beautiful music, and so anytime your first record is gold, you just don't stop from there, man. It's like you got what it is. If you're just given a chance, see, the record companies were paying attention back then.
Yeah.
You don't have that now, so it's totally different. But when they were paying attention back then, and they realized wow, that was a quick, easy hit record. Let's give them a chance to do it, and then you score each time.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing just like that for me was when I got with Dr. Dre and we just made hits after hits after hits. I've just been in hit situations. So more than a bass player with me now, you get a ton of knowledge. You get somebody that can stop you from making all kind of mistakes because I made them all.
Yeah.
So I can stop you from making the one. If I see you get ready to do what I'll be like, you ain't gonna like whatever. So that's where a lot of people come to me today, and I'm still reveling in this, everything that's going on right now. I got a hot band. We're performing soon on the 28th at this big concert, and we play funk original music, and then I play all of the songs that I did with Dr. Dre and those guys, and we call it the G Funk Review, and the people come out and they go crazy over it, man. So
Nice.
I'm 61 and getting a little tired now. I just talked to one of the Dramatics the other day to help raise me in this, and he said he was about to be 66, you know, and for the first time, I never heard him say this, but he was like, yeah, T, I'm getting a little tired. And I was like, damn, man, because we was doing this so early. You know, when I got the group at 17, I thought those guys were like in their 30s. They was like 21.
Yeah.
You know, when a guy says he's tired, and I can relate to it because, you know, it's like the only thing you can do is continue to put out music that you like
Mm-hmm.
and hope for people to, you know, grasp hold of it when the real music comes back around. Especially when you're making records. See, I'm not just a
Yeah.
bass player, so I have to think like a recording artist, like a record company and all. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
but I just can't jump on this fad stuff. I never did it with the bass. Me playing upside down, I never was able to play the Larry Graham the thumb thing.
Gotcha.
So now take that out of my arsenal right off. I don't have that
Mm-hmm.
because it's upside down for me.
Yeah.
Like you doing it, you popping the E string on the top and pulling, you know, slap.
Yes.
I couldn't do the slap. So, and I refused to try to learn. I seen a guy playing upside down that could actually do the slap. But like I said, I've always been in a hurry to make money in this. So learning and taking months and years to get a technique going didn't mean nothing to me like that. I'm a bass player. I'm a businessman bass player more so than the guy that's heart soul that die for his bass and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have died for my bass, but I did eliminate a lot of people from my circle that wasn't doing me and my bass any good. You know what I mean? But as far as a guy who, you know, you got some that go the whole, you know, I have to put the bass down. Look, the big check, the bass is getting kissed and laying down for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And while we take care of a lot of other things, you know, and that's what's good about me. And I wouldn't feel bad if I couldn't play today. Sometimes my hands, the nerves in my hands are starting to have a problem now through playing a long time, and then diabetes too.
Oh yeah.
Don't help any.
Gotcha.
So the nerve is getting a little weird sometimes, but I'm learning how to play through it, even though it's very annoying. I'm learning that I have to play through it because I can't stop and say, hold on, y'all, let me shake my hand off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning how sometimes it feels like it's ice cold and I'm still, you know, and I get through the song and then I can shake it off a little bit. I'm going to continue to put bass lines in the studio. You know, bass line is 5 minutes for me. So I can keep creating catchy bass lines and putting that out. And it's a little easier than doing a live hour show. And that's what happened. I'm watching my father. He's 86. And he's whittling away. You know, the bass player dies hard, man. We don't just go. You know what I mean? And like you gonna get every bit of the last bit of us. And I'm looking at him, you know, and I'm feeling bad about it, but I do know that he gave it all and all while he was going.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm giving it all and all of mine while I'm going.
I hear you.
Can't do it. Ain't nothing else you can do.
Now, this is kind of an interesting thing because both you and I, we've been as growing up through the years, the music has changed too, because you mentioned, you know, your father playing jazz.
Right.
And then you were kind of doing more of the R&B and the funk kind of stuff.
Right.
And you were like in the thick of it when hip hop and a lot of the other music was evolving. How and you've seen it from both angles of both a musician and producer and recording. And again, some of the names that you've been involved with, like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, Tupac.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you're right in the thick of it all.
George Clinton. Don't forget George Clinton.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like with me, all of those genres, I just had whatever I created for that moment right then. And it wasn't studied. It was probably more like, hey, we in the studio tonight. Can you be there? Type of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like we're going to rehearse for a couple weeks on this and that and this and that. No, it's more like, hey, George in the studio tonight. Can you be there? Like, hell yeah, I could be there. And then you're just going to create some things. So I really like the creative end of it more so than learning how to play Anita Baker or like, you can't get me to play a gig like that. And even the dramatics. It's one of the dramatics is always teasing me like, well, T, you know, you need to keep knowing the show just in case I need you. But I'm like 20 years. I gave those guys 20 years, man. I could never go back and do that show again. However, my hands probably can do it automatically. You know, when you
yeah.
get to that point where you fall asleep on the show, but your hands keep going.
So with that, you've got a unique approach to holding the bass upside down. Obviously, you're not slapping and popping, so I'm guessing a lot more finger funk
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
right.
With gear wise, what are you using to get your particular sound? What gives you your voice? What are you playing on?
It's really the studio that gets the sound,
Mm-hmm.
the real Tony Green sound, as far as I'm concerned. None of these the amps nowadays. They just got too many damn knobs, man. I don't have time to be. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Like, put me back in the old custom days, bass, treble, and the volume,
Yeah.
and then I can work the hell out of that.
Yeah.
But when you got the depth and you know vibrate, I mean, it's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
So none of these amps, I like the SVT. That was the last of the before the knobs went really crazy. Push button this, slap this on the slide a couple times. It's just too much. So when I play concerts, I'd rather just go direct. Damn, an amp, and then you get the sound. That way, you in the house, you know how loud I got to be in the house, and round it out.
Yeah.
And with me, it's just a sound. The sound that I have, you probably just automatically would know, like, oh, let me do this. Like, you wouldn't put a whole lot of bass to hide what I'm doing because I'm playing actual notes. So there's no sense in rumbling me out. And then with the highs, you're not gonna just have extreme highs. I'm not playing like Stanley Clarke either. So most places get the sound right. These amps with all these buttons today, just it's just too much, man. I'm just not even trying to learn that stuff like that, And I like my Spectre bass, but I picked up other basses I like. But I think the next bass I'm gonna get another Spectre. But I'm a guy that get his money's worth out of the bass he has. You know why everybody else got 6 basses?
Mm-hmm.
I got one. The one is enough. I'm just not. I'm just. Maybe I'm different. I hope I'm not letting none of the kids down. But it don't take but one.
That's right. Well, Chuck, when I was talking to Chuck Rainey, there was a couple of things. One, he mentioned the fact that he loves his bass because it's lightweight. And with getting older, having less weight on that instrument is a real blessing because you just can't be holding a 12-pound, 13-pound bass for a long time anymore.
Well, that's what I had. I had that, and somebody stole it. And the best thing that happened for me is that it got stolen because it would be heavy as hell, and I really never noticed that it was heavy until I went and tried a new bass out.
Mm-hmm.
And the bass was so light, I was like, damn, I got another 20 years on this.
Now, going back to the gear, you mentioned Spectre bass. Do you have I'm gonna guess because it sounds like you go like straight with the sound of the instrument itself, not much in the way of pedals or anything like that?
No, I have a little funk pedal every now and then when I want to make a record that I want to put that old P-Funk sound on it, like back in the day, Parliament Funkadelic sound.
Gotcha.
But I don't really play with a lot of gadgets either. I have a Blackport speaker. It's a company here out of Detroit that do their own speaker. And it's a beginning thing. I mean, they got a lot to improve on, but I'm usually seen repping their speaker because they gave me a couple of them, and and I figure, hey, let me, I might as well rep it. No big deal.
Sure.
On my, because whatever it sounds like on stage, I'm counting on the sound man in the house to make it all right, And I'm not a guy that's gonna be playing so loud on stage that you can't adjust. I just been on a million shows, so I know how the bass is supposed to be. Every time I go to the studio, I mean, I just know what everybody wants already because I've done it. And you'll know the difference from a pro as an amateur, because when you walk into the studio, the sound man or the engineer has not even said nothing to you before you know it. You're starting to play. You ready to take it? You're like, hell yeah, let's take it, because you got your shit all open like it should be, and you're just ready to go.
Yeah. With all of this experience and you've seen this from all the angles, what advice would you have for young aspiring bassists? What pearl would you give? Let's say you could send this message back to yourself in time. What would you tell yourself as the best possible advice?
To not compromise on your money. Make sure you get your money. We sell ourselves short sometimes just because we want to make sure we can blend in, fit in, be a part of. and then and you miss out on what you're really doing it for is to take care of yourself,
Yeah.
to take care of your family and stuff like that. You know what I mean? This is why we initially first get into it. We might like to play, but if we stay into it more than 2 years, then it's because we want to make a living at it. Nobody's still playing that just likes to play 2 years later. No, he's planning on making some money, and that's why he's doing it. So I would tell most of them to, go ahead and hone your talent. That's going to come, or it's not going to come. There's nothing. There's no secret to that.
Mm-hmm.
But once you got it, don't sell yourself short. If you feel like you're worth $100 for this gig, ask for 100. You don't get it, sit it out, and then they're gonna come back to you again, and you're gonna get that 150 now because you didn't take it the first time. And I think if you play it like that, you might miss out on a lot of things, but ultimately you're gonna feel a lot better than yourself than to be doing a bunch of things and everybody else is getting millions and millions of dollars. You just in the wings,
Mm-hmm.
like Chuck Rainey. He's not sitting on millions of dollars, but he's playing on records, millions of I know the Funk Brothers of Detroit. They did all of the Motown stuff. It wasn't until they were like 90 years old that they started getting a check for $1 million. You know what I mean? Don't let me wait till I'm 90 to get mine.
Well, and that raises a good point too, because one of the things that we've seen is I'll call it the replacement of bass players by tracks and stuff, and especially with a lot of the hip hop and R&B tunes nowadays.
Right.
You look up there and you don't see a bass player on stage anymore, and you're kind of going, okay, so what's with that?
I know, yeah. You got to be the one that's in the studio putting the bass on in the studio, and then they just use the track.
Yeah.
With me, I've been blessed to be able to be that bass player that's on the record.
Mm-hmm.
So you look up there and all you see is a track, and you see the guys rapping. Well, I'm blessed because I'm the guy on that track. You know what I mean? So it just happens like that, and you got to be open minded too. As musicians, you know how back in the day, I remember I was with all the other old guys that was like, "Oh, rap, it'll be gone. Rap is just here for a minute." We said that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It never left, and it got bigger, and then turned out to be one of the biggest things in my life. So, you got to be open minded to what's going on. Like, just try to get with some hip hop guys, and create like, hey, let me put a bass on, because a lot of these guys be open to stuff, but they just don't run into musicians that can help create. So they just take what they have.
Gotcha.
And what they call a bass is just a big note on the bass drum. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They say that bass. But like I say, I know bass, and I want all the people out there to know, go to the Death Row from 93 to 96. That's bass.
There you go.
Everything that's popping out on them tracks and melodic and got you swinging, that's bass, not just a big note.
And looking ahead, what plans for future projects do you have? What have you got in the works?
Well, I've just finished like 3 albums.
Okay.
We still call them albums. A lot of them will show up on CD Baby and things like that, but we got a little online distribution situation with Sony to deal with it. My son is in charge of the vault. I've happened to accumulate about 1,200 songs I've produced in my lifetime, and so my son is able now to take the music, put it in the category, and with the writers, and because I know whoever wrote a song with me, I know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like we're going to look all over for a person. We'll put a record out, and then they'll find me, trust me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they'll find me. And then they'll also find that there's a check for them too.
Nice.
You just have to keep it moving. You can't, everybody's scattered all out, So I think the catalog is what we're concentrating more on next.
Nice.
And like I said, I just continues to record. I'm recording I just finished 3 new records in 2017, and I already got 3 new projects on the table. But it's just because I record them myself. I'm not in demand or nothing, but I create the demand for myself. You know what I mean? That way you stay in the limelight. You got a name, so it makes it easy for you to get in,
mm-hmm.
and you got to take advantage of it. If you didn't have a name, if I didn't have a name, I can't even imagine how much harder it would be. But with a name that's done some great things, it just makes the door a little easier open for me. And I just still got to come with some great music though. So that's what we're doing. And like I said, I'm glad to have the kids with me working it out now because I'm 61, man. I've done it. Like most guys die and all this stuff is just floating around. I'm trying to put it together so it don't float around. You know what I mean? And that's, hey, you only got so much time and we never know how much time we got. So,
you got that right. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's more to life after a while. It's more to life than just running around playing bass. Now you got to tighten it up. All the bass playing you've done has got to be, if it was about anything, then it's got to be tightened up.
I hear you. And if people want to know more about what you're doing or if you got a project going on, where's the best place for them to look?
I'm Advert on my Facebook, Edward Tony Green.
Okay.
And then my son said I have a celebrity page coming soon. He's been building all of this, just like he created this interview for me right here. So, I'm excited about that because otherwise it wouldn't have been no interview. And I know I'm familiar with you guys. So it's an honor for me to be part of this too.
Well, it's for us, we have a great passion for the music and for bass. And I like to say that musicians are a special breed of people. And for most part, bass players in particular, they're a bunch of chill dudes, man. I mean, they're really nice guys. They don't have the egos that the lead guitarists have. I know there's going to be some guitarists that are going to get mad at me. But, they're the nicest people. And I believe that if more people would adapt the community that we have as bass players and bass musicians, the world would be a better place. We are staying out of politics, but having that common good. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're playing jazz or you're playing hip hop or you're playing Latin or you're playing polkas.
Calypso, it don't matter. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It is something that brings happiness to people. They feel it, even if they don't understand the lyrics.
Right.
They're getting the music and they're feeling that bass. Punch them in the chest. That's where that goes. And so it's a valuable thing that we do. Well, Tony, thank you ever so much for taking time to chat with us and share your wisdom of these years. We certainly look forward to many years of lots of interesting things coming from you. Don't be a stranger. Stay in touch.
I was thinking T Money Green on YouTube. If you look for T Money Green, I'm all over YouTube.
Okay.
All over. You can even get away with Tony Green on YouTube, but I'm all over YouTube. So they can get me in all different fashions, studio playing and live shows and everything is on YouTube. So
excellent.
You can find me on there.
Excellent. Well, folks, you've seen him here, Mr. Tony Green, T Money, coming to you via Skype direct from the Motor City here on Bass Musician Magazine.
Thanks for bassing out with us here on bassmusicianmagazine.com.